The Bible is known to have predicted a lot of historical events way ahead of its time, as well as providing this sense of comfort when people are going through hard times. So does the Bible say anything about this Russian war that's happening in Ukraine right now? And maybe more importantly, can it give us, and especially them, any hope and comfort for during these times? And before we get into that, I just want to say that we think that the situation in Ukraine, it's very sad. And we have been and still are praying for the people that are living there and for everyone who is involved or affected by this war in any way. And I also want to give you the opportunity to comment down below and to just say something kind and encouraging to all these people. Now let's just immediately answer the question that you want to know. Does the Bible say anything about the Russian war in Ukraine right now? The answer, no. It doesn't say anything directly about Russia or Ukraine or the war in 2022. But Jesus does make a comment that I want to bring up that I think is very relevant to the situation, because indirectly I think this war that is happening right now is part of what Jesus said. Let's read this quote together and then I'll tell you what I mean. "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." Jesus is talking here about the signs of the end time, the end of the world. And he says that evil will increase more and more, and it's being manifested in different ways, like wars, for example. And you may immediately pick up on something and be like, wait, but there's always been wars throughout history. How can this be a sign of the end time? Jesus is not talking here about those individual events in themselves, but this larger pattern that he compares to contractions like with birth, where these events will increase over time in frequency or intensity. And this is something that since back then when he said this, we have definitely seen increase with the size of wars, the number of casualties, etc. And this war in Ukraine, just like other wars in the world, I believe are part of this larger increasing pattern that he said would happen. But attached to that quote, there is a message of hope. And I want to read to you a short quote from my favorite Christian author, where she highlights this. "In the last scenes of this earth's history, war will rage. There will be pestilence, plague, and famine. The waters of the deep will overflow their boundaries. Property and life will be destroyed by fire and flood. We should be preparing for the mansions that Christ has gone to prepare for them that love him." So this is talking about an increasingly destructive situation on earth, while at the same time, Jesus is in heaven preparing another living place. See, everything that's happening here in the world is part of a much bigger battle, a war between good and evil. And that's not only happening in the natural world where we can literally observe it, but even the supernatural. And this war involves everyone. And every day we notice the effects of it in our own lives, in our families, in our societies, and even in the environment. But the good news is there is hope. Yes, Jesus said that all of this will get worse. Evil will increase, but that's not the end. Because he is preparing something better for humanity, and soon there will come a point where he will deliver a knockout punch, where he will end the war and eradicate all evil. Now you may immediately wonder, why hasn't he done that already? Why does he allow the evil to increase? Well, the answer is simple. Because without you maybe realizing it, maybe you or your friends or family may not be ready for it. Because think about it, for world peace to exist, for harmony and trust between all people groups, it sounds so wonderful. It's the world that we would want, and it's the world that Jesus said he will make. But can there be any selfish people there? What about people with pride or anger or stubbornness? What about lying or gossiping or jealousy? It would disrupt the whole thing, right? A world like that can only become a reality if none of the people that live in it would mess it up, right? Now we can continue down the list with everything that would be destructive to such an ideal world, but I guess you get the point. most people, and probably you and I too, would not be ready for such a world. Meaning that if Jesus would end all suffering and all evil today, he would need to get rid of us too. That is why Jesus is postponing that knockout punch, that eradication of all evil, because he doesn't want to lose you. He wants you to be safe. That's why Jesus is asking you to allow him to change your heart, to help you to overcome those tendencies for evil, and to prepare you for that new world. Not just so that you wouldn't mess it up once you live in it, but also that you can thrive and flourish and live the life that you've been dreaming of. I've made a video on this topic of how you can be saved and prepare for that world. So make sure to click this next video and I'll see you there.